Okay folks, Paul Roberts here. Glad to have you with me. I'm hoping that my video fishing journals and my documentaries will help you make some sense of what's going on in your own fishing waters, or at least give you some things to look for and things to think about while you're out there. Okay, our season is rolling on and we're now into midwinter here. Midwinter is when water temperatures bottom out for the year. Here in the north, it's when water temperatures fall below 40 Fahrenheit. At that point, the temperature profile of a water body is what's called reverse stratified, meaning that the warmest water in the lake is at the bottom with colder water above. Pretty much the opposite, entirely the opposite of what a profile is like for the entire rest of the year. It's an odd quirk of nature that water is most dense, the heaviest at 39 Fahrenheit. Both warmer and colder water floats above 39 degree water. That puts that 39 degree water smack on the bottom of our lakes and ponds, making the bottom layer the warmest water in the lake. The sun's angle is too low in the sky now and the day's too short to heat the water. We've been seeing that right along through the fall, developing, especially in the late fall and early winter. And now we're at solstice lows. That sun is just hanging low in the sky. The heat and light is just reflecting off the surface. It's not able to heat that water. Instead, surface water continues to lose heat during the long nights we're having. And up here in the north, frigid cold fronts finally bring on ice up. When our water hits 39 degrees Fahrenheit, you know that ice up is imminent. My ponds have been flirting with ice up for a couple of weeks now, with smaller waters skimming over with ice, sometimes completely overnight. The larger, deeper waters in my area are not yet freezing over. The days have been remaining fairly warm, though, in the 50s, but again, that's not enough to affect the water temperature this time of year. Water sucks in heat, and it holds it, and it gives it up slowly. It takes it in slowly, and it gives it up slowly. Everywhere, but on the surface skin of my ponds are at 39 degrees Fahrenheit all day long. On these cold but not yet frigid nights, the ice skin forms wherever the water surface is sheltered from breezes, usually along wind-protected shorelines. The ice builds from there, marching across the surface toward pond center. Water movement, even from light breezes, will keep the surface mixed with the mass of 39 degree water, and it doesn't allow icing. But frigid Arctic air is on its way in, tomorrow in fact, and my ponds will be locked up solid. Breezes are not. And once locked, it's tough for that winter sun to unlock them again. So I've been putting on a push here to get in the last open water observations and fishing for the foreseeable future. So my ponds have dropped to 39 degrees Fahrenheit and they've begun to ice over overnight. What's that mean to the bass? Apparently quite a lot. Right along, I've been keeping tabs on my waters and my fish by thermometer, video, sonar, and by rod and reel. And you've been coming along for that ride. The bass and most of the bluegills have pulled away from the shoreline shelves completely. They're off the shelves, away from shoreline cover, that cover that's consistently held bass and bluegills every single day, in fact, from early spring through late fall. So where they've gone? Telemetry studies back up what I've been able to see, showing that bass generally move into deeper water. They head for the main mass of a water body, areas that offer more stable conditions in terms of temperature change and current, being away from current. So exactly where are they? Winter bass can be a challenge to find, especially by rod and reel alone. Our search could involve some serious real estate in a lot of the lakes and reservoirs around the country. So I cheat. I play the same game, but on small waters. My winter laboratory ponds, as I call them, are 3 to 5 acres. Still, it's a challenge to find the bass in midwinter, when their activity level plummets to their annual lows. Bass don't need to eat much at these temperatures, and if prey is not readily available, and easy to catch, they may not eat at all. This seems to be more the case the farther north you go, and also in bluegill-based waters anywhere compared to, say, shad-based waters. Shad are particularly susceptible to winter stress and therefore more vulnerable to predators over winter than are spiny-rayed fishes like sunfishes and perch that are adapted to better adapted to cold water. Midwinter fishing can bring the most challenging fishing of the year. The bass tend to be deeper and more consolidated, that's grouped up, so they're tougher to find. And they're much less apt to be feeding. So in such a state, bass are much less apt to chase, to move for a lure, which is something we anglers depend on at some level. After all, the bass have to meet us at least part of the way. In midwinter, our patience and perseverance will be tested, and we most often simply have to accept lower catch rates. At least I do in my waters. So where do we start? Where do we start in our search for winter bass? First, look to the larger masses of water, the main basin, preferably away from current. Steeper drop-offs or weed walls often attract winter bass, steeper contours. Bass seem especially interested in inside turns in the contours that probably create a protected bowl-shaped space for them to pile into. Bass still greatly appreciate cover, and their prey are also cover-oriented, spiny-rayed species in particular. In topographically featureless dishpan contoured waters, such as the case in most of the waters that I fish here, any cover piece can serve as something for bass to orient to. The job of winter fishing is to find these. Lastly, winter bass and their spiny-rayed prey are most often bottom-oriented, sometimes belly to the bottom. So in the two waters we're going to visit in this video journal, these dishpan waters that I have, the bass vacated the shoreline cover as soon as ice formed over the shallows. It was like they were there, and then chink, I get a skin of ice, and boom, they're gone. I found those bass in both ponds away from the shorelines, out in the main mass of water. From there, I found 3 areas that held bass. Again, even a 3-acre pond has a lot of real estate when those bass aren't moving and chasing, okay? And a lot of it is devoid of fish. So the 3 areas I found each had prominent structures to orient to. In each case, in these waters that are topographically featureless, it was in the form of clumps of tall vegetation. What may surprise you is the subtlety of these fish holding spots, especially in the second pond, the one that sports a virtually contourless and coverless basin. What I had to do was find those, to locate those attractive cover objects and then get those midwinter bass to bite. The second part is no small part of the challenge of real cold water midwinter fishing. Okay. That should be enough background to clue us in. If you're still with me, let's hit the water in midwinter. That ice is just about an inch thick. Tiny bit more. All right, we're going to do a quick sonar thing since we've got a succession of vegetation. So what we have on here right there is Chara. You see that dark purple stuff? Chara lines the deepest water. It's a macroalgae. As I come shallower, you've got the vegetation that needs more light. That's milfoil. Right there is Chara. Here's the bottom. And here I'm coming into milfoil, and it's a lot denser. You can see you're getting bright yellow returns on that. Okay, here it comes. But it's still just Chara. The orange line is the bottom. And I'm in 8.5 feet of water, and the Chara's coming up to 6 feet. So there's a whole carpet of Chara below me. And now I am gonna get my bead on that more diverse spot that I know of. It's looking a lot more interesting now down on the bottom, and you can see there's quite a mix of vegetation there. Cara, Elodea, milfoil. Fairly diverse here. And here's milfoil again, right there. You can see that, how dense that is. You start to get some orange returns. Yeah, and I can see it below me. I got a fish. I've got a fish. I had it laying dead on the bottom. Oh, don't get down in there. He's trying to bury. Come on up, honey. All right, looks like I'm going to have to add a bit of voiceover. He or she looks to be in the 16-inch range, a bit on the thin side. And took it pretty deep. This is a Ned grub, which are very soft, and the bass will really hold them. And lure was just laying dead on the bottom while I was checking out the sonar. I'm looking for some red in the gills and the fin bases. The lighting doesn't really show it, but that's something that shows up with the red teeth. Some red teeth there. And overall, a pretty thin fish. This is a very infertile body of water, and there aren't very many bass in this water body, but with that water clarity, it's a great place to shoot video. Adios, honey. All right, we're here on the Winter Laboratory Pond in midwinter. I define midwinter by conditions like every other season as having reached ice up. We've got a cold front coming in a couple days. I've got 2 days, it looks like, to get this done, to catch some fish in this winter conditions. It's going to freeze solid. We're going to go down into the single digits, and it's going to be done. Open water fishing will be done. It's early enough in the year we still have a fair amount of prey fishes in the water. They haven't been eaten, they haven't died off. Each water body is different, but that's something that happens in the early winter. By late winter, we have a lot less prey, and have died off and been eaten over the winter. So, but we're sliding into the coldest water of the year. When this freezes over, it's going to be 30, and as you can see, it's 32 right on the top. Just beneath that is like 38, 39 degrees. The whole pond is 39. That open water there is 39. It can't heat. It might gain a degree today, but it's going to hover right around the 39, 40 degree Fahrenheit mark all day. So what the fish are doing at this point is they have left the shorelines, okay, because they are really inhospitable. They're the places that are icing, even though there's cover there, and they've moved out into more open water, deeper water, as we discussed earlier in the last show. What I've been seeing, and I've been videoing this right along, I've been breaking ice and putting cameras under there, and finding that even with some depth and stable water temperatures, my bass have moved away from the shoreline. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be looking first for deeper fish, and then I'll try the shorelines. I'm going to break a little ice and get in there and see if I can catch some of these midwinter fish. Okay, I've got something down there. Just that looks like, so what there is there's a type of milfoil in here. It's a native milfoil called whorl-leafed milfoil. I mistook it for Cara because it's very sparse, but that is what I think this is. And I parked out to where there is some objects for bass to orient to, for fish to orient to. So, between me and the shoreline, I have some of this very sparse milfoil. It's all they got, because this body water is completely clean. There's a little bit of Cara, but it's just silt bottomed. But there is a little bit of this milfoil that is just in this area. And I've caught fish here before, so let's give it a whirl. Am I pulling a weed with me? Feels like it. Sure enough, and that is, ta-da, there it is. Okay, this is milfoil. This is that whirl-leafed milfoil. Real dense at the top, and it'll develop whorls like this as it gets taller. We're always relying on fish to move for the bait. You know, they've got to have some motivation. If they're not expecting to feed, they can shut right down. If I'm catching nothing on retrieve, that's when I start killing the bait on the bottom and just letting it lay there. It worked for me a couple days ago in another body of water that's a real tough fishery. It's infertile. There's very few bass in it, but it's so clear that I get really good video out of it. So I wanted to see if I could catch some fish out of it. And I worked hard for 2 days and I caught one bass on a Ned grub, laying on the bottom for several seconds. Yeah, there's vegetation down there. Whoop, that's a fish. Little one, but it's something. Ta-da. Yeah, there's vegetation down there. Man, it's hard to tell. Alright. Pale silvery. A little bit of red. Yep. There you go, honey. One. Right around that vegetation. Detection is a steady retrieve, just steady tension. It's a slow swim. And it is holding the rod dead still, so that anything you feel is something down there. Weed clump, bottom, stick, fish. Movement, whatever type, swims, twitches, falls, hops, whatever. Let them know it's alive. It draws attention to this small object that's moving, its potential food. Question is, can I catch it? First question is, do I even want food? Am I even expecting food? Pauses, let the fish know that they can catch it. That's one. This fish chased it up from the bottom. That's a good sign. Woohoo. Okay, come on in. Nice red teeth, and you are a chubby thing. Oh yeah, very pretty, very pretty. Red teeth, tiny little mouth, and there's a belly. So the stomach, there's food in that stomach up there, and the gonads here are quite swollen. This is a female, quite sure. And it looks like she's got food in there, unless her gonads are just beginning to take everything over, but I think she's getting fed too. Nice. There you go, honey. Okay. I've found a few fish here. She was almost under my boat. Yeah, that is a dense clump. That's a thick clump of milfoil. Unless that's a cloud of fish. If I sit still and they move, looks like it's thinning out. You know, that might be, let me see, let me move. Yeah, they're not, those are moving. And you see these, I don't want to spin around, I don't want to spook them, but there's these long streaks. These look like individual objects. Now that could be whorls on the plant, but they're moving. I'm not moving. That is a group of fish. They are really bunched up. Really bunched up. I've got a fish out in the middle where that Cara was, I think. Is this a cat? Nope, it's a bass. Okay, I was gonna say. That's a good one. Out in the middle by that Cara. All right, honey, let's get a look at you. Oh yeah, there's a 17er. Let's spin around here and get a look at you. There you go. Golden yellow. Some warped fins. You're an older fish. Wear on the bottom from holding on the bottom. And likely a female. Yep. All right, and there's some red lips for you. All right. Very nice, very pretty fish. All right, honey. Yep, good 17-inch fish. Very nice. Don't get too much bigger here, actually.